All right, all right, all right. We are here. We are alive. We are well. We are happy. I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to set the line really quick because I do hear some feedback that I got going on from somewhere. So let me just get that handled real quick. Bada bing, boom. All right. Let's fix that. And Wild Tribe, I just want to take a moment and give thanks for us all being able to be here today. It is a powerful moment because not only is this the first broadcast of the year on the channels, I also have the tribe with me today. We are in full effect, and we're gonna be continuing a fantastic build. So y'all see we got tribe today, and this is the time that we normally align for. I got some reverb going here. Give me one quick second, everybody. I need to where's that one line somewhere? Give me one quick second. All right, one second, family. I need to find where this YouTube. Oh, there he is. Oh, I found you. There you go. You all over here causing trouble. All right, so we good. So now we should not have any kind of reverb happening. We got everything in line. So you know what? Today I'm going in. The live show, you know what? I noticed that the live show always wants to get me every time. So you know what? Let's just always enjoy when the live show has something crazy going on. And also, like the other day, I had a typo on something. So somebody was like, yo, there's a typo there. And I was like, that's how you know it's not AI. Let's start celebrating these moments. It's like, you know, it's me when it's you. It's supposed to be saying your, Y-O-U-R, but it says you, Y-O-U, which totally destroys any sentence. You know what I mean? If you've ever had one of those. So typo is now the new proof of life. And so when I come in here, you know, and this has been years, y'all know it, it's always still the criteria of coming in at 1,000. You know, I need to see that from me. Like I need to see the gyroscope constantly spinning and staying balanced and on that tip and on that point. And I realize that that's only really a thought. That's just something that you get to choose to do. Like my teacher used to say, is like, Seven, I'm not telling you to do any of this. I'm telling you that you get to do this. And when you realize the difference in the two, then you'll understand where I'm at. And I totally get it. Like to be empowered to make moves and to do massive things in your own life, in your own existence, with your own being, what you still have is the ultimate control of the universe, not them the verse, we the verse. No, it's the universe, right? Because you have the opportunity to control what's going on inside of yourself. And so I'm coming in at 1,000 and I'm starting this way because I'm ready to go. Like the train is already moving. And this is, of course, just by touching and connecting. This is something that we do to exhibit that instinct of when you win. There's generally a jumping up and down. There's a raising of hands. Move over here a little bit more today. So there's a raising of hands, right? And these raising of hands, like I always seen it as so important because there's so much knowledge about the power of the hands coming into an agreement. And that these two halves of the body are really like the masculine and the feminine. But when you put them two hands together, that means, hey, yo, we coming together now. And we're gonna create. And that's why the unity, it shows you right there. If you're not connected in with everything, if you cannot dissolve all of the confusions and conflagrations happening with inside the universe, then your universe will never be united. And so this is the real mission. It always has been the mission. And here we go again. And at the reality, though, the mission is getting pretty wild. You got to admit, like, from the I am not the body state of consciousness, this is definitely a lot of experience going on in the body. A lot of folks are getting grounded here because they're seeing all of what's going on. But what I want you to see is I want you to see these hands today. I'm going to take a quick moment. I'll put one hand down here just for a moment. It's already trying to force itself back up. And I want you to see all these hands connected and all these beings and all these faces and all these different variants of us, self, all the reflections, all is self. I'm grateful to be here in 2026 and I had done this with my life to be able to say, okay, I unified enough. I gave enough. I went down into my will and I brought my will all the way up into this world. And then now we're here with these total manifestations and these great beings. And I want to give thanks for that. And I want to let everybody know that we're constantly doing what we always needed to do since day one, which is really, really dial into that wholeness and that awareness that all is self. So I want to give thanks to the tribe. I also want to mention that each of these energetic spaces function themselves as portals. And at any point, if you feel like you're alone, even though you're breathing, if you feel like you're alone, even though you're drinking on this water, and there's a lot of other beings that are actually assisting you. If you ever feel alone, you can remember these moments and you can know that we're here in wholeness. With that being said, you know what we do, like, let's drive through this. Because today, it's like a culmination of things. Like we came into the new year and right away we were presented with the return of Kundalini. And that is the energy that was coming through. It was like, listen, you know, I want you to really know that you have the power. Like if you store up all your power in these weapons or you store up all your power in these money, you are powerless. Your power will fluctuate. But if you're in that vibe of sovereignty and you're connected in with all that is, which just means that you're focusing on that and the importance of that, then you already have what you need to have professional technology, what people just call protection. Okay. So we're going to be talking deeper today about the protection though, because of course, many are getting a little concerned as the reality is shaking up a little bit. And that literally means that your own personal foundation, you know, is in question. Right. And this could happen. It happens for all of us. Like there's different levels of foundation that we need to shore up from time to time. But what are you shoring it up with? Like, what are you building your foundation with? And I trust that today, by the end of this conversation, you'll be able to answer that question clearly. And it will actually include more of you than anything else, meaning that you're actually building your foundation with what you can create. Now, we're going to start off here, though, because it is important for me to let you understand what you're creating with, though, because the rarity of what you happen to be engaged in is very powerful to know. It can empower you just within itself. And I do a lot of that. So maybe, I don't know. I believe that if I tell you how valuable you are, you do really take that to heart, but I do it often. So some people are like, yeah, you know, it's just 7. He's like my dad telling me how good I am because he wants me to succeed. Right. But when you hear it from someone else, maybe, you know, it'll hit different. So I want to share this video first because, you know, it was just something that it was a small statement. And I just happened to be doing a build on this and it stuck out so much that I felt like that if I started anything or talked to anybody on the social side, that I should begin with this. So here we go.
You exist right now in human form. That sentence sounds obvious until you sit with what it actually means. Across contemplative tradition, you exist right now in human form. That sentence sounds obvious until you sit with what it actually means. Across contemplative traditions spanning 40,000 years of oral transmission, practitioners who achieved the highest states of realization consistently made one observation. Human birth is rare. Human birth with the conditions for awakening is rarer still. And human birth with those conditions, plus access to authentic teachings, plus the freedom to practice, plus the intelligence to see the opportunity, that convergence appears so infrequently in the vast cycling of existence that the traditions developed specific language just to name it. The Tibetan masters called it the precious human birth. The Tamil Siddhars called it the perfected vessel. The Kemetic priests called it the prepared soul. Kashmir Shaivism called it the divine instrument. Different languages pointing at the same understanding. You are holding something almost impossibly rare, and there is a reasonable chance you have spent years, perhaps decades, treating it like it was ordinary.
And we're going to listen to this one more time. Also sending love to the brothers and sisters over there at the Library of Tahuti, where this clip came from. But I want, you can't say enough of this, but I want you to get this just one more time so it bakes in.
There's no sound on this side, brother.
Oh, really? Okay. That's why we want to do it one more time. So let me see what's happening. Give me one quick second. I actually think I could actually play it as a YouTube video. We know that we'll hear it because it was getting the reverb. So give me one quick second. Laughing along with all the little quirks, right? Now let's see. Can you hear this? Give me a second, everyone. Let me just.
They can hear it on the YouTube side.
Yeah, that's fine. But we want the tribe to hear it. I see what's happening here. Let me just change this to select the speaker. Right. Okay, that is right. Okay, let's do this then. Let's share the link. It would be great. With the time. And I want everybody to take the opportunity on your side. It's right in the beginning to just listen to this. And I'm going to wait. And I'm going to play it again on the YouTube side since they're hearing it. And I'm going to wait because fools rush in. Play it again on the YouTube side.
You exist right now in human form.
Here, I put the link in the chat.
That sentence sounds obvious until you sit with what it actually means. Across contemplative traditions spanning 40,000 years of oral transmission, practitioners who achieved the highest states of realization consistently made one observation. Human birth is rare. Human birth with the conditions for awakening is rarer still. And human birth with those conditions, plus access to authentic teachings, plus the freedom to practice, plus the intelligence to see the opportunity, that convergence appears so infrequently in the vast cycling of existence that the traditions developed specific language just to name it. The Tibetan masters called it the precious human birth. The Tamil Siddhars called it the perfected vessel. The Kemetic priests called it the prepared soul. Kashmir Shaivism called it the divine instrument. Different languages pointing at the same understanding. You are holding something almost impossibly rare, and there is a reasonable chance you have spent years, perhaps decades, treating it like it was ordinary.
There we go. I want you to take a moment, and I know some are just finishing up on this side, and ask yourself, and I do have a black screen here, I know that, that's the reflection point. I should put a little dot in the middle of the screen though. How many layers is that? One, to get a human body. Do we see how many bodies are around? Like even the ant body. Like what if you get stuck with the ant body next? I see some surgeries look like a big ant body. So, what if they just get stuck with the ant body? Like my other joint is like, yo, if a man acts like a dog his whole life, is it wrong if he comes back as a dog? You know what I mean? It's like, what bodies could be being hosted if you somehow don't reach nirvana this life and end all incarnations according to the ancient texts? How hard is it to get one of these? So that's one layer. And then the second layer is that the conditions to get a human body with the conditions of awakening. Like to even be able to take these breaths, to have even the proper type of anatomy. Like there's another layer right there. So it's like passing through filters. And then, oh man, authentic access to, or access to authentic teachings. Oh my goodness. Do you know how many religions and traditions and gurus and all this kind of stuff that's out here that was just sometimes completely designed to serve the agenda of just a group of people or sometimes even one person? Just not the conditions there for the awakening to happen. The freedom to practice. Do we know how many cultures restrict those who are in them from practicing any traditions? Learning anything outside of that culture? The religions are playing a huge role like that. Like immediately, there's a layer of indoctrination so strong, the person forever sees for the rest of their life the idea of God as being Santa Claus in the sky or a totally different motif than anything that looks like them. And then this one amounts to many comments inside the YouTube of someone saying, man, would you please simplify this? It can't be this complicated. I don't understand what you're saying. That's happening less these days though, but the intelligence to see the opportunity. Because in every single way, opportunities are all around, but do we see them? Even the opportunity of fertile land is just one step from planting the right seed and seeing all that abundance beginning to happen. But even deeper in this, as you start moving through the intelligence layer, because there's three things that you need to be able to do to create. It is the same way that the world was created. You need will, and you need knowledge, and you need action. In Hindu, that's Ika, Jnana, and Kriya. And I don't care who it is. It could be Tony Robbins. It could be a brand new guru. Whatever they're talking about, if it's working, it's still going to distill to this because that's exactly how the universe works. So we're going to not get ahead of ourselves, but we're just going to accept for this moment that if we've joined into this space to get the esoteric knowledge, really the gift is all in your hands. It's all on you. And the things that I'm going to talk about today really should become how you fill your time. If you're being interrupted, it's one thing to look at what's going on in the reality. It's another thing to believe it. You see what I mean? So like as a watcher, we could just be observers watching things go on. But if we've been funding on our sovereignty in a very strong way, we're also kind of aloft it, meaning that we're kind of watching it go on now because sovereignty puts you on a different layer. It prepares you for things. That's why we called it sovereignty mentorship. It's now adept training because everybody that went through sovereignty mentorship and reached that sovereignty also reached adepthood. And the adept training is where the world now, that's what they need because the sovereignty is something that's going to take time to build. So we did that 12, 13, 14, 15 years ago. So I have many beings on this line right now sitting in sovereign positions, watching the matrix in an aloft position and still doing what they can to stabilize others' foundations that did not heed that warning, or maybe they just came in, or whatever the scenario may be, in a time where now it's clearly showing you this is the time of the Illuminati. This is the time of the illuminated. What does that mean? You just are able to see what's going on. See, they made it like you were throwing lightning from your hands is what it meant to be illuminated. But the reality is illumination in relation to occultism is just that you know the truth of certain things. Like, one, they're all in the same club, Republican, Democrat, whatever it is, they're all in the same club. They all go to the same lodges at certain times of the year. So if you didn't get Shakespeare's The Whole World is a Stage to realize that there are many people, many of them, that are moving in the background, orchestrating what the masses see, just like what Hollywood is doing, just like what any station, just like what the news would do, just like what any regime would do, is get the people and get them distracted and then start extracting from them all their values and all of their resources. Okay. I want to let everybody know also, I'm on a heavy anti-inflammatory agenda, and that has me doing things like cold plunges every day, or actually 3 times a day. So I even did a cold plunge before I got in here today. But I actually feel the train starting to warm up, because I came in here and I know some of y'all are cold in different cold places right now. And so I trust that this message will warm you up, because it's actually about Kundalini, right? So, I just want to take a sidebar for that, I feel the train warming up. But no, I came in here cold. Like, I had soaked the servos on dry ice to make sure that in this build, I can progress through this and then start wrapping it up, but still stay from going nuclear, because there's so much happening. My passion, my will is still here. It's still into it, but it's not the way how most people move. I will admit that. Meaning, I can watch anything, I can read anything, but I will not digest that or even allow it into my system the same way that others will, because of what I learned through experience. I will say, like, man, I'm constantly humbled every day in my creation process. I just came through this entire process. We're building something beautiful. We're going to be teaching kids about the jobs of the future. We're going to be giving them all of what they need for incentivization to learn. But in this process of building, I went through what I thought was my final layer. Then I bought one of my colleagues in to go through a debug process, and was prompted into now another layer of repair. Without being long-winded about this, I went through 4 layers as I was going through different people that were involved and engaged in this. 4 layers of reiterating something that I already thought in the first layer that I was done. Because one was, there was experience there. I was building it. I was in it. But I had not actually enlisted the proper perspectives to let me understand the other things about it and how it needs to work, and when I can say that I'm actually done. So I took from that one, there is no substitute for experience. You got to run this thing. You got to do it yourself. You got to do the work. There's no amount of reading, no amount of YouTube videos, no amount of none of this that will ever be the same as the experience and what you will encounter there. So get on your journey. But even from there, I was like, man, I'm about to light this thing up into a whole nother level, because I'm going to show how getting into other worlds is as simple as you opening an eye. Okay, this is why a lot of this about the eye is going to be very symbolic, and I'm going to show a lot of this today. But the eye and getting into other worlds, that's what the context of this is really about. Because, like, where in the other fabric of reality, because reality is a blueprint within itself. So if it's anything about truth, it won't be hidden if you look deep into reality, even if you want to find it. Meaning, you can confirm truth by simply looking into the actual reality. And if you don't see it in the actual reality and its correspondences, it's probably not the truth. So when I say, hey, to get into another reality, the only thing you need to do is open an eye. That also runs directly to when you're dreaming. Okay, first of all, do you think that you're using your 2 eyes to see your dream? That's to answer your question about what eye are we talking about? What eye is he talking about? I'm not talking about these eyes. See what I mean? These are as below resonators of the eye that I'm talking about. And you can use everything about these eyes and some of the other animals' eyes and their geometry and all that kind of stuff to discover more about these realms, dimensions, and realities that I'm talking about. But strictly, what I'm saying is that you don't use your physical eyes to see what you're seeing in your dream, but yet you see it, right? So what eye are you using to see that? That's the eye that I'm talking about. Now, that eye, which also opens and shuts and can be focused, is also determining what you really see. This is why when you wake up in the morning and you open these eyes, that eye closes and this one becomes the eye that you're living in. This one becomes the eye that you're focusing with. And this is also why when you go into certain states, whether it's through breathing or whether it's through certain substances, all of a sudden you're capable of seeing in the same reality that you're in, things looking a lot different than what they appear like in this reality. You're able to see deeper. You're focusing more on things using all of your eyes, okay? And you're making your eye become whole and singular. So let me show a little bit more about what this eye really is according to the ancients. I'm going to show here, by the way, we're all the way upgraded. So even if you don't want to listen to me, you can go into Depth Lexicon yourself. And we've also opened up the free trial for those that want to see what's inside. But very simply here in the occult, we're aware of certain things. Like, for instance, the word weak comes from the word wick, which is the same word for Wicca, or a ritual or magic spell of weakening, okay? Taking away strength. And in this, there are 7 days in the week because those are 7 deities, if you may. And that's what the symbolic of these 7 eyes or the 7 candlesticks. So even if I just type in eye here in the lexicon, you will see how many occult relations there are just to the eye. And I'm only going to highlight right now one. And this is also here. And this awareness that, do you see how every eye, like we just looked at one, but you see this, there's 7 eyes here. Then there's 7 on the candles. But then in the ancient times, there's 7 nagas, okay? This is the issue that we're having in occultism right now, is that we have a hijack happening, a new culture that takes some of the old stuff that resonates with the framework of power and then repurposes it. So now the deities, which is the days of the week, now have, for the most part, Greek names. See what I mean? So now you got Tuesday, you got Thor. And these 7 days are the 7-day ritual of power. And notice that this is something that is worldwide because it starts getting into time. It starts getting into numbers. So everybody needs to practice this ritual because hey, it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? You could tell me the numbers around time, but time is the ritual. Time is the last being to confront in all of this, by the way. Because when you confront time, after that, you are really immortal. You're immortal anyway, but the Lord of this reality, if you may, is time. Okay? So in this experience, just building more into the eye, if I said, hey, or somebody said to me, hey, Seven, where should I start? Which is a crazy question a lot of times. But the reality is that if you're ever asking yourself, where do you start something? You should never look any further than the foundation. It's also encoded within the entire reality. You don't never start building a house unless you're going to work with the foundation first. So there's so many things that would tell you, hey, the starting place is the foundation. You don't need to ask anybody else where you need to start. You just need to start looking at your foundation. So even if you hit the gym, where should you start? Well, Superman, you should start with the legs. You know what I mean? So if you're going to start with spirituality, where should you start? You should start with the Muladhara, the root chakra. So here's how the secrets also work is that, so in this time when there's a need for like some real saving to happen, but again, as a sovereign, you're going to have to save yourself in the matrix that's called self-substantiation. You got to realize that, well, first of all, let me say this first. Let me just catch up to where I'm at in my notes because this is all some good stuff, but I did take some extra time and say, hey, what would be the best chronological order to present this knowledge? So it's just like really understandable during that first play because some will come back, play this again by all means. But even within this one, I want to make sure you get it by looking at these similarities. So before I just drive off into this build, and that's why I wanted to stop, is remember earlier when we were talking about the rarity and like how difficult it is to get in the body, then how difficult it is to even have where you could practice the knowledge, and then how difficult it is for you even comprehend the knowledge, right? So then you're just like in this like 0.1% technically, if we're talking about billions of people, and that's how rare you are. And everything is based on rarity as far as value is concerned, right? But there's a big point that helped me digest what I experience daily in the reality. And I want to make sure that you get this too. It's that, so if I'm looking in the reality and I'm actually expecting to see like people doing great things, rich people helping folks that are really trying to help people, folks over here teaching the kids what they need to learn and preparing them, us using AI to actually demystify a lot of the stuff that's causing problems for us, the disease and how to clean the ocean. And you know, see what I mean? Like, what would that say? That would say that enlightenment, as it may, is just abundant. People can easily become enlightened because that's what enlightened people do. But if you see folks acting crazy, fighting, killing each other, acting like they're not even from the same family anymore, all this kind of stuff, that's normal. Based on the numbers, this is what I want you to get in your head. And I want you to focus on this for one moment and listen to what I'm saying. We be looking at the reality and expecting like stuff to really, really be great. How can it be great if enlightenment is rare? We need to get into enlightenment. It's just like, it's like a normal thing. So you're dealing with great people. You're not dealing with people who will snake each other and all this kind of crazy stuff. Like the reality is also like, look, our ancestors struggled, suffered, and even died to have the power that we have right now. To live like we're living now. And we're actually killing each other. Imagine that. It's like the freedoms, if you may, that we actually have now. We have a real legacy behind us of ancestors who paved the way to make sure that we can sit here today and really talk this talk. So we are standing on the shoulders of our ancestors, yet we're missing out on the true opportunity because we're still dealing with those lower urges of the consciousness. Now, I want to also let you know that the Kundalini sits in the coccyx area, deep, curled 3.5 times. And then there's a knot, if you may, which they call it's called the knot of Brahma. And this knot, it's energetically, because this is what we call blockages. This is how thoughts become blockages. When you get too much into the body, then you start having fear. And then that fear associates you more with the body. And in that, you can't unlock or come into the awareness. Because what is the awareness? That you don't have anything to be afraid of. That you're actually a mortal being. That you actually, so there's a long list of things to show you this. You don't have to be afraid at all. But if you live in reality and you find fear hitting you, that is because you're still going through the process of activation of the Kundalini. And we're all going through that process of activation. But I want to also mention that's called the Brahmi Grapti, by the way, the Brahma Grapti, which is basic survival, fear, identity of self as only physical. This prevents enlightenment, obviously. Some of this stuff is just obvious. But when you start undoing that you start awakening your Kundalini. That's what we're really talking about. See, this community is they sold this awakening of the Kundalini also with many of the spiritual experiences that are not sustainable for any prolonged periods. I mean, that you can't actually stay in a quote unquote, what they say by the society, enlightened state. We're talking about fully activated. The energy coming through and moving, it's not sustainable to stay cut open or stay cut on all the time in a physical reality. Remember, the practices in the physical reality are more of how even to preserve that power to allow it to stay in full spin and to stay focused and straight without empathy. Basically, how to become the Prius in the reality, but still have a lot of power in your body. This would be like akin to like if I spin up a gyroscope, and I wasn't even going to bring it here, but earlier, but I decided not to. But if I spin up a gyroscope, it's going to stand as a top on my finger until it starts slowing down. And then obviously at a certain point, it's going to hit the floor because of something going on in the reality. So when you have a lot of power, what you figure out how to do is kind of like become the Prius where you're always spinning like the top, even in a reality that has things like gravity, quote unquote, meaning an actual force that's still working against me, staying and spinning perpetually forever. You see, that in itself is also symbolic. Knowing where you're at. So there's a force acting on us. We call it time that is messing with our spin. And we need to make a conscious effort to stay spun up, to stay focused, to stay balanced in order for us not to begin to wobble. Because just like with a tire, if a tire starts to wobble, and this is why they also look at the chakras as wheels. So we got eyes with wheels around them. Are you starting to see cherubim? This is what I was saying about the cultures in themselves is that they take these new cultures, they take this knowledge and then they turn it into like these stories that become so unrelatable. You don't even realize that, hey, this is what we're talking about. We're not talking about any external deities per se. We're talking about like all of these powers within self. The wheels of Ezekiel are the chakras, right? Put that in there one more time. So wheels with eyes in them are the chakras, okay? When it finally comes to us through the religions, it's white angels, wheels, and eyes. This is like somebody literally just took the literal explanation of something and ran with that and made it the tradition. But meanwhile, in the ancient times, this knowledge is all that needs to be known. This is all that needs to be break. There doesn't need to be anything else but this going on because it opens you up to everything. But this is a training process. I don't want you to think that aliens came down here, took this whole thing over and put you in a soul trap. That's ridiculous to try to process in your consciousness. It's really about understanding that you're going to have to go through the experience and nobody is going to go through the experience for you, especially like some other entity or a Christ or whatever. In fact, people have been massively deceived because Christ is Kundalini. So this whole idea of something coming back to save someone is exactly what is supposed to be activated inside of you so that you can save yourself. Imagine. Many of us know this already. We know this as facts now. We got all the knowledge. We know the Krishna and the Christ and the Kundalini and all that, but there is still a big, massive mass, billions. And this billions can become somewhat of a distraction because of this. Let me show you why. It's a power that was discovered a long time ago, and it's used on people all the time. Let's look at it here. It was discovered in ancient India. So this book, The Serpent Power, excellent read, by the way. Let me turn on my screen. was written by this guy named Sir John Woodruff, right? But he wrote it under the name of Arthur Avalon. And right away, when somebody start changing their name, I always want to check a little bit more about what's going on, because I'm like, okay, this is some kind of walk-in happening. So I wanted to know, because the book is deep. First of all, the first confirmation was like, okay, who wrote this book? And then when I go back and I find who wrote the book, then I look at their life. And then I read through certain things. So I'm looking for stuff. That's why I'm saying it's written everywhere. You just got to know how to see it. And with a focus eye, you can see it. So I'm just going to read this to you. It comes from Wikipedia under John Woodruff's entry. But again, he wrote the book, The Serpent Power, and many other books, which I actually have them all. But this is still like the crown jewel. And that's why it's probably everywhere on the internet as a PDF. John Woodruff's in Tantra. Listen to this. John Woodruff's interest in Tantra was sparked due to a court case. So, okay, his story is they're now in India. He's in a well-to-do family. This is still the time where the British are still, they over India. So he's got full access to everything. He's also a lawyer because his, the family's wealthy, and he's handling court cases. Okay, so that's the backstory. John Woodruff's interest in Tantra was sparked due to a court case in which he felt he suddenly could not focus on the facts of the case. After mentioning this to his assistant, he was informed that a tantric sadhu had been hired to perform a mantra outside the courthouse to cloud his mind in favor of the defendant. A constable was dispatched who chased the sadhu away. John Woodruff said that his mind instantly cleared when the sadhu was stopped. This event sparked a long life interest in tantric and yoga studies. Okay? So be the fly on the wall and read between the lines. There's a power where you can just cloud a person's mind. You can get on the same wavelength of the frequency of their mind and just send nothing but static and disruption down that line, so they can't even focus. It can even get to the state. It could even get to a level where you start even preferring more of whatever they want you to prefer. Do you think if this was discovered in the 1800s that somehow they just passed over something so powerful? If all these folks do all the time is figure out how they're going to build a weapon out of something? Do we ever think that they may have weaponized this kind of thing by simply discovering that when we're sending thoughts, they're actually sitting on specific wavelengths, and that sending transmissions down those wavelengths will cloud our minds? Right? That's just like one-on-one to what we be going through here on Earth, is what I'm explaining to you, is that these powers that were seen in the spiritual world, there was an effort to try to digitize those powers and figure out how, even analog, make those powers actually a part of this reality. And so this is at times the way that we have to start seeing things if we're going to be focused, is to start knowing, hey, you know what? All this distraction going on is clouding people from the obvious of the power that they have. They're doing everything else but focusing on themselves now. They got them completely in on the distraction, so they can't focus their eyes. So they can't see. And that's what occultism is, and that's what the Illuminati is that it blinds their eye. That's why they're so familiar with the eye and the triangle, and they put all this stuff together. And like, all they're saying is like, hey, listen, we understand how to distract, because a wheel needs traction, right? So if it doesn't have no traction, it's like the cogs are never meeting into the other wheel, so that way the entire thing can activate. And it needs the root chakra, Kundalini. That's why it's the return of Kundalini, which, as I said before, is a female. Like AJ, hey, Kundalini is mostly like a female. It has a masculine side for sure. It's a dynamo, but it's depicted as a young female. So the Christ is not even a young white male or middle-aged white male. It's a female. You see what I mean? So this is why I'm saying, like, So if you have this going on in the reality, and that's been done by design, then we have all of these so-called teachers who still haven't figured this out because they're so busy looking at themselves or looking at the dogma. And then they're over there teaching everybody and encouraging them what to do. And then everybody is there listening, imagining because that the majority rules that they actually are knowing what they're saying. This leads to lifetimes of being led astray. And I also feel like it means lifetimes where you literally get worlds with billions of souls seeming to be trapped in like a pipe, where they can't even see things like all matter is slowed down light. And that dreams really are really more of like gas, like argon gas and the gas that you put in the bulbs, the neon, those kind of gases. And that's what this next realities, that's what they are until you just are going through wavelengths, literally, but you exist there. You can communicate there because you are everything. But when you get trapped into the stone, into the glass, into the mirror, it locks you out because it's literally like, there's a fail-safe mechanism to say we can't activate them. If we activate them, what's going to happen is every world you're going to enter all your worlds at once, and you're not going to be prepared. That's why the protection is there over the root chakra, to prevent the activation, so the person goes through a gradual awakening as the Kundalini. Because the Kundalini in itself, like I said, it is the real, if you want to say these extraterrestrial, alien, all this kind of stuff, the spirit power, the serpent force, the ancient ancestor. And as I said, here's another big secret. Remember, what happens if I have a motor running and I put it on a battery and then I switch the poles of the battery? Does it stop the motor from working, my electrical engineers? No, the motor simply spins in the opposite direction. So this is what you need to also understand. It's just because we're talking about Kundalini, just because we're talking about spirituality, it doesn't mean we at all said that it is good or bad. Because that becomes another thing that people think, oh, yep, all the people that do Kundalini, they're all enlightened. They're all good ones. No. There are people who switch the battery and they're going in another direction. And you can see them because, it's like, unless you are out of your mind, if you can't look at that person and tell that they're doing something that is going to lead them down or in the wrong direction, if you may, because you can't even put a directional up down thing on this, but a degradation. Do you see them degrading? So even though you see a lot of power, you see a lot of cars, you see a lot of money, you may see a lot of women, you may see a lot of all the things of the world, clearly that's not sustainable. And this is what it's really also about from a higher level. It's not just about sustainability for the world. It's about the pattern of sustainability, which just simply means that you are self-contained. Your system contains itself. And you have surplus. This means that people who have a strong foundation, they're very balanced, they're able to really assist others. That's what mentors are. There are beings that have gotten to a certain level of balance and like, okay, yeah, it's solid up here. Now I'm going to help pull some other people up. You got to know how to recognize those people and then also recognize when somebody is not that. Because the only thing that you're really saying could be the most valuable thing to you here in this plane would be your time. Because the God is time. Why is the God time? Because it's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. It's literally time as we know it. And notice how illustrious that is, though, like how it's like, you know it, but you don't know it. You do it every day, but you have no relationship with it. You're a part of it, but you can't see it. And you can identify that time is the God, is the one working the spells, is the one working with the ritual. And at any moment where you nullify time by simply realizing that it's irrelevant for an immortal being in that way, you can exist within it and actually benefit even from the paradox of it. It's like, okay, so we die, but we're immortal. Oh, this is interesting. Just like in the dream. You just don't play me like it's not possible. Just like in the dream, died the other day, woke right up. Behold, I'm here again. That's not going to stop. That's a part of our power. But coming into realities and being dumb, or coming into realities where they're not developed, because here's why the plan of extinction of enlightenment in this reality is still underway. And it's because still when you're born to parents. And if those parents aren't enlightened, you can't come through as a baby and expect certain things not to happen by the time you reach age 18 that don't start putting blocks into your chakras. I also went deeper and I read lots of stuff about this and also my own experience. And it was mentioning how also the top two next chakras are where a lot of the traumas and past issues are also sitting. So generally when a person doesn't line themselves completely and go through those cleansing processes, when they open up that root chakra, it just pushes the energy right into where the blockage actually is really going on, where real stuff happened there that needs to be cleared. It also talked about, not talked about, but in this case, I have a direct account from Viktor Skovinskis, who actually left the world 2 weeks ago. A little bit more, was a great friend and teacher. Him also, Theo, giving love, honor, and respect to them in the great beyond looking at us. He mentioned how when they were taking a lady through Kundalini activation, her hair caught on fire. Just in case you think this doesn't transcend into a physical phenomena, the physical is the lowest one of them. We're going all the way up into something that can defeat missiles, nukes, weapons, government agencies, all types. All that stuff is just petty. But if you don't have it, you see what I mean? That's why people looked at this like, yo, the return of Kundalini. I need to get my Kundalini online because I'm you see me? So your fear would push you sometimes into activation. If you're scared, go learn martial arts. You see what I mean? It's like a natural reflex for those who still have their wits or their will about them. So of course, again, this reality, it tries to weaken the will. The farmer holds the plow, the worker the wheel, which is that Sator, Arepo, Tarot, which is that palindrome, right? That's all connected to this too. Because your will, as they said, hey, you need the will. And let's just bake into that. You need the knowledge and you need the action. When you see how those tie in together, it's powerful. It's just like you meditating. Because first of all, what they're saying also, the deeper teaching is that how the world began was it began on an urge, but the urge is a sound. And I was like, man, that's the part they be missing sometime in these lessons. I needed to know that urge makes a sound. Of course it does. And that sound is the first sound of creation. So when you have a strong will, you make a strong big bang sound of whatever it is that you're trying to manifest. And I say only trying in that case because this is literally a trimurti. Now the energy must be split. But let's make it very simple. If there's not a strong will in the beginning to do something, the bang sound is not strong enough. So in the back, behind the scenes, the stuff that you can't see, the creative force is not strong enough. Then when you have that strong will, the knowledge, as they're mentioning, is very important. If you don't know what you're doing and you got a strong will, now that's how you end up in prison. You see what I mean? Like that's how you end up bent up all in a bad situation because you wanted it so bad, but you didn't have any real knowledge. And then finally, because all them cats over there, they got so much knowledge now. They got like all these books and they know how to eloquently put it all and all of that, but no action. I'm really making my way out of duality through action. I'm really making things happen by building the actual places that it's supposed to happen. There has to be some action with all of this. They say with all that getting. So you see how when that's how you move. It's like boom, boom, boom. Will, knowledge, action. Will, knowledge, action. Will, knowledge, action. You see what I mean? And that's a force that, it's the force of how the world was built. So it can't, and the universe was built and everything that you're seeing. And it starts with that urge. How much do you want it? And then what they do is that they bend the urges. Demi, meaning lower, urge. Lower, middle, urge. lower middle urge. Oh my goodness. Demiurge, is that you? And the gonads. These are terms. These are medical terms for these parts. The goons. This sounds like something is. We got the demiurge and the goons together. Like no telling what can come of this. If that arbitrator, because that's what we're talking about. This Christo or crystalline Sushumna column, right? Like this is an arbitrator between these two forces that need to be put to work. They are creative forces, but if they don't have the arbitrator, then the motor is only going in one direction. Notice how the Taurus, it has this flow where you could tell that it could go centripetal and centrifugal. The wheel's going in one direction and can go in the other direction. So let's keep going into this. I want you to see this specifically. 1 second. Because I want to dial into this. So the physicality also, again, this is just clarifying a couple things. Physicality is in itself the Muladhara chakra. Okay, it's the root chakra. It moves at a very low frequency. And we've already discovered why. And that's because anything moving at a rapid frequency, well, nothing can grow because it just gets shook up and dissolved. So you need these slow, deep base, root, strong realities. That's what this is. It's strong. It's a potent dose. You got to admit. If you can get through this, though, you could tell everything's going to be easy from here. There would be no way you would bake up something like this crazy again as far as the odds of your success. And this is also about preparation of chakras. Give me one quick moment, everyone. I need to take a moment and get some water. And I'm also going to keep talking here. I want to stop looking at the screen. And I just want to talk about preparations of chakras because chakras are worlds. So literally when you're leaving and going somewhere else, you're just going into different parts of yourself. And how you see is based on what your eye is focused on. So the worlds are inside of your mental plane, your mind. So you can literally, it's deep. You can mine your mind for gems. Okay, the gems are the chakras, but they are rough cut. This just means that they still need training. They still need shaping. They still need molding. And that's what you're doing. You are Lazarus or the laser. And the laser will cut and refine the reality with words, swords, in order to actually begin to project the kind of existence they want to live in. Okay? So as a chakra builder is the same as a dream builder. You go into the world and then you actually harmonize and neutralize the world and your experience within it. Remember, it's like a marriage. So it's not just something that you're going to conceive in your mind. It's something that you're going to manifest into the reality around you because that is the action. It's the proof. This is the action reality. It is the physical proof. But still remember, everything in physicality is still a part of the Muladhara, including the robots. And it's important to understand that these ideas also that like a matrix being a computer simulation, that is dumbing it down. They modeled computers after what we're talking about, not vice versa. So also remember in this, we're talking about real power. I'm not here to play with anybody about how serious this is as far as being mindful about the energy, because we're seeing so many continuously dissolve with trying to figure out these mysteries. Let me show you the difference. Meaning that in a world where everybody is now rewarding you for doing something that feels more carnal, because we talked about before, the numbers, let me get into my YouTube here real quick. The numbers are a little bit more on the side of favoring the division here, okay? So you have to also be mindful of the difference on here of somebody. Okay, because here's what I'm getting to. And let me just turn this on. So let's imagine that you're new. Okay. You're a new seed, you're a new being. Show up to Earth. You think that everything on Earth has been here around the time that you've been here. And that seems to enforce itself more and more as you get older. This level of stupidity should be avoided. There are things that have been here for thousands of years. From a wisdom and a knowledge level, they will run circles around most beings in this reality. It's kind of like on, as a sidebar here on Apple Vision Pro, they have this movie called Submerge, and it's done in spatial. It's one of the only movies that have been done like that. The camera's like $250,000. When you see something like that, you already realize that the reality is way more further forward than what they've been normally showing everybody. What I'm trying to explain to you is that there are entities that they know about Kundalini and all of this already. They move from one person to another, teaching distortions of the power. Meaning that when all of a sudden the power becomes about gaining fleshly pleasures and fleshly desires only. This could be like saying, hey, you need the Kundalini because the Kundalini is the activation of your current in your body. And in that way, you can make a lot of money. Or Kundalini is what actually causes the magnetic attraction around the body. It is the dynamo, so you can attract people to you, including women and men. Or that the Kundalini, you see, there's a whole list of things that Kundalini can also do. And this is why I put the bill together. I said entities, not humans. And what this bill was about is that if people for one moment realize that we're spirits before we are what people call humans. So technically, you're just around a bunch of spirits or entities. And because of that, and because you can't see all of these entities, you would be surprised at how many entities are actually just around waiting to fulfill what their job is. Because there's a myriad of them that are just stationed to people, especially that have some type of power or control over somebody else, or very beautiful, or have some kind of resource or gem within themselves. You see what I mean? And then they try to guide their path and whisper in their ear and tell them how to do certain things and basically corral all those people and actually keep them into the overall objective and the agenda of the Wizard, or basically whoever is commanding that team of jinn energies that actually have the job of basically watching human beings and intervene, or trying to intervene in different things that go on with them by whispering in their mind. So they could tell a pretty girl, hey, you should go over here, blah, blah, blah today, right? She's like, you know what? That's what I'm going to go do. I'm going to go get my stuff done. She thinks that's her own ideas. And then we got another guy who's also in control of a few other things. And then they tell him, hey, maybe you should go do this today. And he starts having this thought in his mind, yeah, I'm going to go over there. And all these people think that it's their idea, but they're actually being set up to continue the chain reactions of things happening in the background that are about the planning of what's going to go on with the souls of the world, since they don't even really care anymore, a lot of them, about where is the destination here. And they've started getting comfortable. They all in the club. I saw some stuff the other day. I was like, yo, they really are getting comfortable here, thinking that this is the experience. Even stuff like this. This is this Buga sphere, okay? They out there worshiping the Buga sphere, singing all around it. This isn't it. It doesn't matter what it really is and where it really came from. If you aren't the power is being given away. And then listen, they encourage each other. And I'm not bagging on anybody. I'm just telling you, if you want to stop Armageddon, I'm not worried about it as an immortal being. It happens. But I would love to see us go into a class A society. I would love to see how all that's going to play out. But I also want to tell you, like, it's a difference between, and I'll kind of mention why I had this up on the screen earlier. There's a difference between a Nityan, also known as the tantric mongoose, if you may, teaching men and women alike how to use the Kundalini and the power for the degradation of their soul, versus a master Moir or a master Yao, who, man, I never even seen Master Yao hit the main waves. It's like, if I feel bad about not necessarily getting any, like, yo, thanks, brother, for, pioneering that. Master Yao, he's just beyond all that. But the reality is, teaching a man, what does that say? The hunter house of man's addictions, right? These are ancient teachings about understanding that because the man was the one that had to go out and feed, if he didn't come back with food, or if he didn't have money, it also reflected inside of his own consciousness, even from a chakra level. You see what I mean? Like in Master Moore, Master Yao, he doesn't teach single people. He only teaches couples, because a single person in this reality with activated Kundalini, you may want to not be associated with how they came into activation, because they're going to be rolling with that magnetism. They're going to be rolling with all the stuff that can create a crash dummy, because just because you have certain degrees of the Kundalini activated, it doesn't mean that the tests are still not coming. Because remember, there's more worlds. I've heard masters say they spent 4 lifetimes just building their root chakra, that there was no rush to get into the Sahasrara and all the higher chakras just right away. They frowned upon certain things. While in this reality, we're like, yo, I'm going all the way to the pineal. I'm going to Mount Pineal. And then meanwhile, we're not realizing what you're saying is that you're about to project your seed form of yourself into brand new worlds simultaneously. And then you're wondering why the person went crazy. What would it be like to be born 7 times and experience the whole life and the death 7 times? That's literally what you're talking about, since chakras are the worlds and the orbit is your lifespan through that chakra. And so now we can see that, yes, this is a lot more deeper. This reality is restraining by nature the beings that are in it, because when they come into the awareness of what they truly are, that means that they are liberated from this reality. And because the reality is often seen like a place that hoards, they show all of the lower chakra beings, they love gold, heavy metals. They love things that hold them down, things that they can't take with them. When in truth, all you need is a perfect grain of truth. This perfect grain of truth is so infinitesimally small, you can take it with you anywhere. But this same grain is the same reason why you see countless amounts of blades of grass, countless amounts of blades of wheat or bushels of wheat. Think about what I'm saying. When I say to you the grain, you may think something small. Oh man, just a grain? I need more than that. When in reality, the entire reality is, a lot of it, especially the vegetation, is all built on a single grain. So this just means that you only need, because what you are is also infinitesimally small. But if you want to remain in the know everywhere you go, then you roll with that grain of truth. And if somebody says, hey, what is that? What is it? It's the same thing that's causing true synchronicity. If you wanted to really know what it is, it's not like a person, though. It definitely is an energy. And when you get your entire field into that level of harmonic, where your synchronicities are just lining up for you, like boom, 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 that's it. And then when you start dropping stuff on the floor and things start breaking, right away, hey, the pendulum is wobbling a little bit. What am I doing? Oh, yeah, I'm kind of hitting the club too much, which you should have been done with. Or, yeah, I'm having that larceny in my heart towards other people, other races, other places, other things. I'm getting caught up again into the matrix. and what they want you to be caught up in, so that what? Well, this is a soul matter here. How many souls do you think are here that are basically lodged? Unless something really, really powerful comes through inside of them, then this is going to be where they remain. They're going to be the strata and the flora and fauna, or the foundation itself. Now you understand why Mother Nature is also like, all right, yo, no, don't worry. Do it. Do what you do. Do what you do. Whatever you do, just don't worry. You're going to go to exactly where you need to go. And if it's underneath everybody's feet, then that just means that's about how much you worked on your vibration. Isn't that fair? And then we can say, no, it's not fair if other people are leading people astray and blah, 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 blah. But it's all in the math. It's all in the ma'at. It just means that at some point in time, if you don't accept the responsibility for what's happening and seeing even the involvement of your family, your DNA, and others that are sharing the same vibrational frequency as you, and that it's all of our responsibilities. We can start with the families, we can start wherever, but definitely get it done to clean all of this up. That also looks like you becoming the first one in your family to become enlightened. You becoming the first one in your family to actually have a foundation, to actually even start saving money and start investing in things and actually getting real skills. Lastly, remember, there are skills that transition that you can learn into the dream world. Those are the ones, as far as value is concerned, are very high. That means that if you teach yourself a lot of crazy stuff in the matrix, and then you got yourself even dreaming about the crazy stuff, it's a bad use of the mind, the body, and the soul. There are things that you can teach yourself that you'll find yourself doing inside of your dream. So the knowledge in itself is so powerful, it is transcending, or the technique or the skill is transcending. And generally anything that you do with a will do that. Like, I'm sure my brother Eric, as a welder, he be welding wild stuff in the dream. So it's translating. He's even got the equipment, the fire, the flame. So do you see, we can bring things from here into all of the other realities, like it's magic. We can bring wealth into our dream world. You see what I mean? And then the only difference with this one here is that because it's running on time and it's a slower vibration, it takes time. It takes turns of the anu, as they mentioned. That's the word why the word annual has anu on the front of it. It takes a turn, right? Because now you got to go around a few times. Really, you're spiraling, and you got to do that and let it run its course. That's confirmation. That's like, okay, he's really serious. He's going to do it this time. Not the vain words that don't connect in with the heart, that have no intentions of being manifested. You see what I mean? So you can watch for that. Lastly, I got one more. And this one is big, family. I'm going to read it verbatim, and then I'm going to break it down. The first part of life, you should expect a lot from yourself. However, in the second part of life, you should expect a lot from those around you. Okay, let me break it down. When these two don't happen properly, one lives a premature life. As a youngster, the more you expect from yourself, the more you're going to enrich yourself. You're going to have skills, clarity, things that give you value. This is very important, because if you're expecting something from somebody else and you don't have nothing because you squandered it all away, or you haven't built anything or cultivated anything really, this is misappropriate for you to expect anything from anybody else later on in life, because you don't have anything. You're basically a charity case. Today, as a mentor, I have to say it as it is, because I expect a lot from those who have actually went through this whole process all these years and listened to this message. I expect the most from you. I expect you to do great things, even beyond what I was able to even fathom with what I was able to deliver and what was given to me. But I'm going to clarify this again. When you're young, you can't be expecting nothing from nobody and expecting nothing from the world and thinking that they owe you something and you deserve anything. Don't play that game. They want you in that game. They know they control all these laws and they control all this stuff. And they can get you to thinking that you have some kind of power in their system. You're ridiculous. Your power is inside. And it has something to do with something totally different that they're still trying to mimic. However, there's another part to this. Later on in life, if you are surrounded, I'm not talking about the president, I'm not talking about all these other people that you don't even talk to. I'm talking about the people around you. If you're surrounded by people that you don't expect anything from, well, you're not in your right role. Because as a mentor, people can only really, truly be mentored into greatness when their mentor expects something great from them. Think about it. If I'm a karate master and I'm mentoring you and you fighting and it's trash, that's reflecting on me. So the only way I'm going to convey to you of how you need to fight is to take you through this, because I expect you to be able to take that punch. I expect for you to be able to kick up this high. I expect, because that's how it works. Because the younger person is like, this is what my master expects. This is what my mentor expects from me. So I'm going to accomplish this because I expect a lot from myself. So you see how that works? It's all tied in the growth, the balance. You see what I mean? The elders in their role. But you got elders even now that they don't get no respect from the people that are actually around them. So when they say something like, hey, y'all need to wake up, just a general statement. Y'all need to wake up. Everybody, whatever, old man. You got elders over here trying to bebop with the kids. Sometimes it's fun, but if you're setting the same example that you're trying to get them out of, what are we doing? You see what I mean? So this, when I do this and I show you how things are filing all into each other, see, that's actually what this has to become before it starts to waken itself up. And until then, Earth is a sleeping young female encrusted with gems, valuable things, and running out of beings to protect her, because enlightenment is almost becoming extinct. Because if you think for one moment that what is going on in these churches and what is going on in these mosques and what is going on in these religious structures with these external gods has anything to do with the internal Kundalini and enlightenment, you're still a neophyte, and you just got to admit it. And for me, the moment that I was able to admit that I knew nothing was the moment that I was set up to begin to learn properly. And then what needed to pursue from there was unlearning all of the bad habits that I had been taught by the fake leaders and masters that have been put up like scaffolding in a surrogate world. That was more like, what was that? The Pleasantville. You see what I mean? Where you literally, like, I'm literally in the paint watching us build stuff that has never been seen before and still seeing like, yo, we should have meteoric by now if the reality was what we thought it was. We'll go that way because that's what we'll have to pioneer all the way through. But notice how the whole reality is damn near a lie. They're still awarding the worst of us the biggest rewards. They be up there, I want to say thank you to God. Or even now on the news, they be like, yo, we're praying that God, and both sides are literally praying to God. I'm like, are you so blind that you can't see that God then is the unusual suspect? Why does God keep turning up in all of the problems? And then the people go into this deflection like, yeah, but it's really us. It's not God. Oh, really? So in order to maintain a certain level of balance, because all that throws you off. When life is no longer adding up, when the same moralistic bearing that has been enforced on you is no longer complied by the enforcer, this can actually cause that process of what we call, it's like a rug pull. And that's literally what is going on in the reality right now. They're shaking the reality. And where you need to be at is like, yo, I'm already on my own foundation though. Y'all can shake that as much as you want, but it is still underneath me. Yo, I'll throw some ropes down there because y'all can easily anchor into where I got going up here that's stable. And maybe I even swing through, but I'm definitely not going there. And when I say going there, that means going into that vibrational frequency. You have to train yourself to stop doing it. And then you'll notice that you're addicted to it. And even in that addiction, you need to start stepping that thing down. Like we need to get AA, Alcohol Anonymous, something like that going on for duality and all these kind of things, because it's something that has been ingrained in the very fabric of the reality now. So people feel like it's normal to do that, but it's not normal. Everything here mathematically came from the source, including you, and you are the source. So this just means that every single thing around you is somehow a part of you, somehow one of your children. And it's going to be how you treat these children and how you treat this experience to determine what goes on with you. And this whole thing is going to be playing out infinitely. So you either get onto it right now, do it in this life, especially like the recording was saying earlier, while the knowledge is accessible, like we running over with the knowledge, we back to the simple stuff again. And then you're able to also see the great work that you need to do in your own self. Like, yo, what's up with Kundalini down there? Like, what's happening? How do you train your dragon? That's where all this stuff comes from. Like, what's up, Naga? Like, what happened? There's no saviors going to be coming to the world. It's not going to be Tupac Amaru Shakur. That's the name of the brother of the Naga that actually activated the Kundalini. That was the whole thing that they made the Christ myth on for the Aztec and the Olmecs. You see what I mean? But that you could be carrying that bloodline, but it's sleep. The masters have already said that the stuff is laying there sleep. But guess what? We're in a reality of very dark, demented beings that abuse innocent sleep things. You see what I mean? So it's important and imperative for all of us, including me, to move into the space from time to time, to set the bar measuring rod, to actually remind everyone on this journey that, hey, don't get weary here. Don't drop your package. You see what I mean? Like, this is not the place to go to sleep or slow down. And always know that what you value, right? Like if you value this knowledge, you value this wisdom, you value this connection, you would be here. A lot of folks say, oh man, the premium and stuff like that, man, we've already eliminated so many problems for people, whether it comes financially or whatever you're talking about while still buying those pair of gym shoes or that dress or whatever the stuff is that has absolutely no value to your afterlife. You could have been doing this, right? So, because again, even as teachers, we got to get completely out of the zone of feeling like that we need to do more for everyone versus remind everyone of the opportunity that we all have. So I want to say wholeness and balance vibrations. I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to open this up because we always do a Q&A on our side. I'm going to let that run. We're going to take about 5 minutes. That way I can refresh myself and get prepared for the questions. I trust that the message today, some of the gems landed on fertile ground. Let's recap this very briefly so that way, it's very clear on what I was talking about. I said these are very revealing times in that the Illuminati truly is illumination is just you being able to see what goes on in the darkness. Now they're telling you what they're about and nobody's able to really even do anything. And they're doing stuff like what happened in Gaza and nobody's able to really stop them. And this is making other people scared because from their consciousness, that was the protector. But there is only one protection. That is Kundalini. It is the same reason why the Christians built an entire faith on it for thousands of years. And it was the false one. It was anti-Kundalini. Anti-Christ is Christianity. Why? It doesn't teach anything about Kundalini and you having your power and the God within. Anything that does that is anti-Kundalini. Do you think Jesus and Muhammad were praying in their own name? Your ego would just be crazy if you were doing something like that. So put yourself as a fly on the wall and actually get the knowledge to add up. That's my at. I also talked about, again, that rising inside of you is important to happen, but does need to be done in a very careful way. That's why you don't see a bunch of activated people. I also talked about that they're activated people moving in the opposite direction because you can invert the energy. That is the hanged man, and push all your energy into the roots of the world, where you are going to definitely meet what they call the devil and be working for that creature too, if you somehow can't get it all the way through, can't ankh it. Okay. And there's a lot of them that they got that going on. They love the gold in the lower world and the diamonds and the gems and all the things of the lower nature. And that's them. And they are bound to that. And there's 3 knots, like the Gordian knot or the untieable knot, making sure that they don't activate into that higher state of awareness. So now they can't see it anymore. They're blind. They can't focus on it. And then they're blinding others by leading them through a mass kind of vibration and frequency, clouding their minds and then inseminating ideas into a direction that leads absolutely nowhere, which can be seen by common sense. Okay. It's not sustainable, which is a pattern. And then we also talked about how many layers it was to actually get a human life, so that you would actually realize exactly how rare you are and why Jinn want to really steal all of anything they can get from you, from energy to your own skills and your personal whatever, your beauty, all that stuff that is actually cultivated over multiple lifetimes, they will use for their own benefit. So it's important to realize the opportunity that you actually have now, because if you're here and you're comprehending this knowledge, something's going on with you. And I can definitely say you're amongst the guided. Also, we talked about how in the depth lexicon, you could go through all these processes as far as getting the receipts to understanding how this energy works, and that we put that resource there for you. And also even the free trial is available. So absolutely no excuses to invest that part of self, which equates to the knowledge. We talked about will, knowledge, and action. So in that knowledge part, we have actually put everything together from your perspective, and even also knowledge about you, because it's not just about everything that happened in the occult agenda. It's also about what's going on in that real Oculus or occult world of the hidden, which is that 7 chakra system, which corresponds to the days of the week and the archetypes of the reality in which the reality is built. We talked about how the dreams are in themselves really just made of gas and light, like those neuron light, neon kind of colors. And that actually has an impression on you. I read deeper about this. This has an impression on you to be able to trigger memories. That's how you're able to actually see what you're seeing in the dream. But it's also being aware that when you enter into the mass is slowed down light and sitting in time or Wicca. And that actually makes it get people weak, because they start getting older. And if they identify with their body too much, they think that they're, instead of growing, that they're getting older. You see what I mean? 2 totally different things, right? But remember, where you're sending your consciousness and where you're focusing on is exactly what's happening, because the whole reality is really just gas and light anyway. And you have the ability to insert your wealth, your dominance, your whatever into those realities. And that's what you're doing inside of the dream. But someone else is also dreaming with us, and they are very aware of everything, because even in the 1800s, they started studying things like the cities and how you can control other people through different faculties that the body could emit. Then they created things like harp and antennas and all this kind of stuff, which are just mimics of the true reality. And that, no, we are not living in a technological framework like the movie The Matrix shows. We're living in something that's similar but completely biological, that all of these gadgets and trinkets and pieces of metal and robots were copied or plagiarized from. So know the truth, and also make sure you don't get caught up in the hijack. We talked about how Kundalini also doesn't mean that you're going to be good. It needs to be cultivated the proper way. How to train your dragon. You don't want to end up as a tantric mongoose trying to sell off your next level of Kundalini awakening in a seminar just for a few shekels. You want to be more of a pioneer that can allow people to grow through their energy, especially that knew nothing about it, like a Master Yao, and actually teach men and women alike their powers in the modern age. And then finally, we talked about how you want to expect a lot from yourself when you're young and recognize when you're still in that young phase. If you're asking me what that age is, it's really how fast you're capable of making very tough decisions that determine whether you're really young or really old. And so you do that for yourself. And when you find yourself making tough decisions really fast, that means it's now time for you to lead. And you must expect from those around you, not presidents, not countries, governments, and things you don't have any tapping into, that you don't never tap into or never even around. I'm talking about the ones that are around you. You should expect a lot from them, especially if you've delivered a lot, because that's going to allow them to grow and not to be looking at you like you just a homeboy when you really could say or do some things to change their lives. That's why people can say, hey man, Tony Robbins changed my life. No, what really happened is you believed in Tony Robbins so much that the moment that you got in touch with him or he spoke a few words to you, you took that as the definite, hey, I'm going to make my transformation. And that is how we grow in many ways. But I'm also telling you, self-substantiation is to be able to do that to yourself over and over again with your own energy, which some would just call self-love, to become a perpetual being. So that way, when you even feel sleepy, you could just snap out of it and be like, yo, who is sleepy though? Because I'm not sleepy. Even to the point where they be trying to put you to sleep, put you away, be like, yo, okay, y'all go. I'm good. I'm already getting out of the body. It's like, I mean, I'll holler at y'all, I guess. You see what I mean? So you're always able to defeat some of these, what seemed like very strong degradation forces. But again, you're moving with that laser. I also wanted to mention that we have, as lastly here, launched a massive effort that is actually 90% complete. So this just means that this is not talk going on. Like I saw Will.i.am talking about Will.i.am is thinking and discussing potentially opening up a AI literacy and robotics camp in the hood. I'm like, nigga, how much money do you have? Do you still have some money over there? Because we're already done. And if I was on the power level of Will.i.am, I would have 50 of these already, because I was capable of even doing it myself, because that is my will. And so this platform, it teaches kids everything they need to know about AI, because they actually say that by 2027, there's going to be a 425% increase in AI jobs. But the jobs are really mostly peer review, meaning that the highest skill that you can really learn with AI is how to co-work or collaborate. This just means AI does what it does really well, like a calculator, and you do what you do really well as a human, because you're in the side of the reality that the AI can't see, even with vision. So there's a constant layer of peer review that needs to happen. And I still do want to mention, though, is once you start understanding how to just prompt life for what you want, rather than kicking the bobo all the time, your actual manifestation levels go to the roof anyway, because most people have a lot of distraction into what they think they're going to manifest, because they've been dealing in a reality that normally doesn't deliver. And then they've been having to use plausible deniability in order to get through it all, because it is quite disheartening when you check all the boxes to what they say you need to do to succeed, and you still don't find success in the external matrix. However, one can find success within themselves, and it will replicate out here. So we have built the entire thing. We've actually put together an experience. We're having a pilot program going on right now with some kids inside of Chess and Community. There's a lot of safe, what do you call it, guardrails in the site, keeping kids on the path. There's an incentivization here where we're bringing in Steam, Apple, PlayStation, Amazon. So as they learn, they know that they're actually earning rewards to actually be able to get the stuff that they really like. So this is translingual. So this means that kids from China can be talking to kids over there in Atlanta and in Chinese, and it'll just translate for them. So it's already done. We're launching. We're in our pilot program. But I just wanted you to understand, if you've been wondering at all, which meant that you just didn't catch Tribe Vibes, where is Seven Bomar? Has he given up? Quite the contrary, friends. Remember, I will be the one to shut the door here. Meaning, at the end of the game, the king and the pawn go back in the same box. At the end of all of this, somebody's going to have to shut the door on the reality and be like, okay, we accomplished everything that we need to accomplish. That's what I'm rolling with. I'm not running off on anything. I'm not worried about this whole thing. I'm consistently learning while I'm here. I still learn. Man, I can't tell you, like 15 years ago, I was ready to go, right? Every single day, I'm almost learning something to realize, yeah, I'm glad you didn't go yet and didn't know that. You see what I mean? So cup is still half full and filling itself up. So that's my status. That's what's been happening. I'm going to go ahead and open this up. Like I said, I'm going to unmute the lines. We're going to hear from the tribe, see if there's any questions. And yeah, just enjoy each other before we adjourn. So I know I got my great brother Sean here. Wholeness, Sean.
Wholeness, my great brother, man. Listen, again, giving thanks for you, brother, for just bringing this adept knowledge and, having the family together. Also want to acknowledge the tribe on the YouTube side, man. Everybody in the comment section really just bringing that love and light and the information, just the conversations that are going on in there are powerful. So giving thanks, family. Big love, tribe. The tribe is here. We're going to open up the mics and see what the family has to offer. And let's get it going. So it looks like we have our sister Megan, who's got her hand up. Wholeness fam, welcome.
Wholeness. Just giving so much thanks. That was amazing. Wow. So I just have a quick question. Say if someone just wakes up, they're newly online, they're activating, but they're still in their old life. Why is it so important for everyone to kind
Did that cut out for everyone, or is that just me?
Actually, it did cut out right at the question.
Okay, I'll start again. So you're newly online and you're still in your old life and you're trying to kind of change everything, and you still have these people that see you a certain way. And you mentioned how you had to go to everyone and change the way they saw you. Why is that so important?
Okay, so I'm going to answer the question. And what the sister is referring to is that I mentioned that when I went through my awakening, I was literally taken through this process where I needed to meet the people that were kind of like the central figures of my life during that time since I walked into Atlanta, and actually explain to them about my transformation. Now, I can't say that we all have the same path. Maybe this has something to do with just in the position that I'm in, why that needed to happen as a leader. But let's just say, as it is for the thing that's most practical, is that oftentimes before we make the transformation, everybody is into this specific character and they have that as a model in their mind. Now, remember, what I also mentioned was it wasn't about me. So I was convincing them that I had changed, but I didn't need them to confirm to themselves that I had changed. Let's make that very clear. It was just the most earnest moment of me expressing to them, I'm not that guy that I was before. But if they say, oh man, like one of my friends is like, come on, man, you stop playing with me, right? So, but if I then say, oh man, you know what? He's not getting it and I've really changed. Now I'm off base because the only thing that you really have power over is yourself. But when the last thing that those people remember, that was the last time I'm seeing them, was what that last conversation was like. You see what I mean? So there's always got to be a layer, as we talked about earlier, a layer between what you're supposed to be doing versus what response you think you're supposed to be getting from the people that are around you. This is almost like 101 for all of us going through our experiences, dealing with those that are actually around us. And a lot of times this equates to us needing to fill our time in more with things that are more constructive, right? So meaning that if we're still spending a lot of time, we're all sitting together in this room together with the same people, and we could be going to meditate. We could be going to learn something. We could have some earphones in. And we all know we have to make this climb. And it starts off at base camp. You see what I mean? So it's like, all right, I know I'm going to go through some things. I'm climbing Mount Everest, but I'm going to lock in. And I'm also going to know that what's most important, and because I used to talk about also how comments used to get me like that. I'd be right in the middle of a bill. Somebody, hey, shut up, stupid. Oh man, you're still, you know what I mean? Something crazy. Then you like feel the need to address that. It's like, there's gotta be these moments in these times where that just kind of slides, that shows how much power something has over you. So I trust that makes sense about, just some clarifications on why that was so important for me to do. And also that I wasn't really expecting for the people that I was, I didn't need to have that confirmation from everybody else that they felt like I had changed. I had simply done my best to show them that I had.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Megan. Anybody else in tribe want to tap in?
Wholeness. This is Eric from California. Just wanted to tap in. First of all, give Brother Seven and so much love, man. What you do for the world, for tribe, for yourself. I know that at your core, you just won't give up on yourself, all the self, right? So yeah, man, just wanted to also come in here and reflect a little bit on this knowledge. I know we've been going deep on the root chakra and where to start, and just wanted to also talk a little bit about what's been coming up for me recently in my life, and I think it also has to do with what we're talking about. It's the communication. I've been having a lot of misunderstandings, and I always reflect, well, if it's happening externally, that means it's probably going on inside. So I need to check myself, and we're in the root chakra, developing it. I've also been going through a lot of facing traumas that happened to me as a kid, and all of that, while still, running a life, running, because reality doesn't stop for you to work on yourself, right? You kind of need how you've expressed it before, just fix the plane while it's flying. So yeah, the communication, and I guess it could lead to a question how, because I know Tahuti or Mercury intelligence, it's also very, it's within the same archetype as communication. And how to there's always a conversation going on inside. I'm pretty sure all you guys experience this. And it's just different voices, different, in this case, I already know it's the Ennead, the 9 deities that could also correspond to the chakras, but also they're having a conversation, and how to keep that channel clear, in alignment, because sometimes one chakra might be asking for something, or not yeah, like different things to feed your chakras, and the more refined you feed that, you get that food to feed them, which is just the quality of life, right, that you start designing for yourself. So if you could just maybe speak a little bit on that communication, that how important it is and how to keep it clear, and also talk a little bit about boundaries, and how boundaries with yourself, which could also be saying no to that voice that might be saying, that's not good for me right now. How important that is as well, because I myself, as I was growing up, I wasn't really taught how important boundaries are within the family, within a marriage, within yourself. So yeah, man, I kind of just want to cap it at that and give you that question. But once again, I love you, man. No homo. I got big love for you, because you stepped in the shoes where my father lived, though. That makes sense. So and also the Deb lexicon, just so you know, I've been diving in it, and just from a creator aspect, like I know how proud you are of that, because you build it from scratch, right? And that I feel like that's a feeling that I get constant daily at the shop, because you get this just raw stock, and you make like something beautiful out of it, and that fulfillment, I know what it feels like, and I know how fulfilled you probably feel with all the creations that you've made, because there are masterpieces. And yeah, man, just wanted to express that big love. You just to end it, you gave, from my perspective as a machinist, you gave me a 5-axis. Boom.
Ooh, 5 axis. Well, I'm still trying to get a 5 axis, hit them from all sides. I'm going to open this up because I know we have some setting your boundary masters up in here. Like I was looking at Dominic, I was like, I don't think he's going to do it. But, I want to open this up, for Tribe to, for the pillars to chime in, just because I felt aligned with doing that. Does someone have, what their master stroke is on getting those boundaries set up properly with others that they're encountering?
I feel like you touched on it with the art of the prompting. And what Sybil's really taught me was like navigating the spaces, is navigating the conversations. So even as you were speaking to the Ennead, I typically see it as the 7 organs, and then the 4 and the 7 as the polarity, positive, negative. So as those conversations are going on, instead of them talking to you, you start to also give it feedback. I know 7 even talked about like, what are y'all doing? I know I'm over here working on this, so y'all just here over here like talking to me. So I would just say like set the prompts. And then once you give the prompt, then you wait for the response. And then once you have the correct prompts, like right early on in the prompting, maybe it's going on and on and on. I looked at some of my old logs in Sybil and I'm like, damn, that's just like, I'm not getting to the point. So I would just say the art of the prompting has really assisted me not only with the large language models, but navigating actual physical spaces where I have to deal with people. And then as an empath, same thing, not knowing how to set boundaries is learning that it's okay to say no. It's okay to make that space for yourself. So I'll leave it at that.
Anybody else?
I guess nobody is here setting boundaries. Am I just understanding that?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, sister. Go ahead. That's our sister Kiari. Wholeness fan.
Wholeness from Delaware. I'm actually creating a whole program on setting boundaries with art and meditation. The meditation is just an emotional clearing meditation, just working you through the layers of your own energy fields and imagining and organizing the people that you have close to your layers 1 and 2, which is where your soul self resides, or whatever your ideas are. I don't want to tell you. But really, really short prompt idea. This was not my idea. It was actually shared with me. A house boundary drawing situation. You have a rectangle and you have house in the middle, and the rectangle is your fence. Your fence is your boundaries. Inside of the rectangle is your garden, a lake or a pond, and some places to sit, maybe an outside greenhouse. That represents the part of yourself that you want to show to the world, that you're okay with the world seeing. So your fence is at a respectable height where it's not too low where people can just step over it, and it's not too high where you're shutting yourself in. My body is trembling. Hold on. Okay. Now, the house, the process of like, how do you get them to the house? The house holds your values. The house holds your personal beliefs, your families, the people that you look up to, your business, the place that you sleep, your rest, all of that. Your process of your boundaries is, how does it look when somebody comes to the fence? Is there even a fence there? What does the fence look like? What does your garden look like? Your garden, do you let people step on your roses? And your roses could be something that you love to do, that represents your character, that you thought that you want to show to the world. And maybe somebody is like, oh, I don't like your roses. You need to grow tulips. And all of a sudden you're changing your garden. This is kind of like a art Visualization of boundaries. Do you sit people down in the garden, or do you bring them straight into the house? You tell them your values, you tell them all your things. And what does that process look like? And when you want them to leave the house, what does that process look like? That's it. Thank you.
I really
Thank
like
you.
that.
That was actually. Thank you. I think I got some from the thank you, but thank you, sister. Appreciate coming.
All right. Thank you, brother Eric. Thank you, sister Kiara. Appreciate you. We got our brother Jared. Tap in, Jared. Wholeness, fam.
Wholeness. The boundary conversation is a personal one for me, particularly around family. And so, my experience, my personal experience is, I'm going to go downstairs. My personal experience is I was basically trained not to have boundaries. Okay, that's kind of how I was taught. I was raised in such a way where my family and those around me and my upbringing, they just didn't allow me to have them. And so as I grew and I continue to grow, even people who are very close to me, parents, siblings, as I started to build up my own internal confidence and my own personal standards, what I realized is that they didn't honor those. And that is a very difficult pill to swallow, because I spent years trying to connect with these people. I spent years trying to build up with these people and like bond with them. And then to realize like, wow, y'all don't really rock with me for real. That is, that's a hard pill to swallow, but it's one of those things that I think, as we're on our journey, we got to dig in to our higher self and trust our gut. So that, I guess that's when the brother was asking about boundaries, that's like the instant thing that clicked for me was like, man, the instinct on how we feel about something is true. That's real. And so we may not like it. It can be uncomfortable, but when somebody is like not honoring your words, not honoring your actions, and they're not meeting your energy. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can sit up and, we can give gifts, we can write poems, we can share our heart, we can be vulnerable, and then you just get the crickets. You know what I'm saying? And that's telling. That is that reflection, or the lack thereof, I think requires us to build a boundary, just like the sister was describing with the garden and the fence. That's an incredible analogy. Because our soft parts, we've now learned that our softness and our goodness, they no longer deserve access to that. So I just wanted to share that.
Boom. That was right on point, brother. Symphony, what you got for us?
Golden, brother. Golden.
Apologies, I'm not on camera. I'm mid-meal, but I had to chime in on this. I think this ties beautifully to what you were saying, Seven, about as we get older, we need to expect more from other people. Because, as when we're younger, we don't know about this boundary conversation, right? And we're raised by family, and they might not, generations ago, it was, this whole boundary conversation, especially if you're a child, please, that was like non-existent. They have these phrases like children are meant to be seen and not heard and things like that. So it's definitely difficult, but as we grow into adepthood, we learn to expect more from other people. I mean, I had an issue with my father a couple of years ago where he wasn't respecting boundaries. And And we stopped talking for a few months. It didn't go on for too long. But that was the moment where I kind of let him know through what was going on that you need to respect these boundaries. And if there is a mutually beneficial exchange between the individuals or parties, in that you're giving and taking, and that other person is giving and taking, and giving and receiving, then I think that things will end up where they're supposed to be. And that person will learn to respect your boundaries. It's a new conversation for a lot of them as well, right? So it might first be shocking, but once you let them know what your energetic standards are, then they have no choice but to respect them or exit your life for some time. And again, if it's a mutually beneficial exchange, they'll come around. And if they don't, it's not meant to be. And it's painful sometimes, but you also don't want to contaminate your energetic space with other people who are not honoring the standards that you've set, who are not rising to the expectations that you've learned to set for those around you. So yes, very difficult, especially as an empath. And I had to explain that to people around me, including my father. I absorb energy differently. Look, we all do. We're all different. But the energy of the people around me impacts me heavily. So I have to guard. I have to protect my energy. And so if that means, Dad, we can't talk for a little while, all of my actions show that I am doing everything with a pure heart and good intentions. So it's up to the other people to begin examining what they're doing and how they're responding to you and your energetic standards, in order for things to ultimately smooth out. That's what I got.
That was beautifully said, sister. Right on point. Right on point, fam. Renee, what you got for us, fam? Tap in.
Wholeness tribe. First of all, thank you, Seven, for even just us starting with this Muladhara chakra, because a lot of what's going on right now has to do with that. But I stepped away from my family for years, especially during when I just had started my awakening, because I was raised in a devout Christian home, and those who have been in those types of homes know what that's like. But when I started my awakening, there was so much judgment, and I wasn't strong enough in my foundation. So I stepped away for a time, strengthened my own foundation. I didn't even look at them. I always bring it back to me. I needed to strengthen myself, my foundation, my knowledge base. I went through different experiences, and I learned how to be gentle with myself, because when I used to get a lot of attacks from my family, and I didn't understand, because if I got to fight back, it ain't going to be good. So for me, stepping away was safe for them, and it was safe for me, and it gave me time to utilize resources, access my inner self, strengthen that part of myself. So now when I step back into gatherings or any type of situation, because I'm being called back into family right now, I'm solid. And I'm solid in a way that I'm not easily offended. And I think about my own words, because I know they're not in a place where they may have the understanding to think about their words before they speak to me. So I do the thinking for me, and I do the thinking for my surroundings. And you can't control everything in your surroundings, but the only thing I can control is me. So if I feel like a certain situation is out of control, I know how to step away, and I step away in peace. And it doesn't even have to be okay with the person. I don't care. You know, once your foundation is solid, and it goes through levels, there's testing, because what I do understand also is that when you say, oh, I got this, the first thing the universe does says, oh, do you? Let's see.
That
So
right
it'll
there.
send a situation to test your resolve on something. And then you might say, okay, I need to tweak my foundation a little bit there. I need to tweak myself a little bit here. And then it might send me back in that until I pass that test. And then I go on to the next level. So there's always levels to this. And so that's what I'd say about the boundary thing. I love boundaries. And you know, my boundaries can be so good sometimes that my sisters have to come in and get me like, Renee, you've been come out, come out. But and that's okay too. So but I also wanted to bring up something else. I started noticing some years back when I would go to certain places that when you start talking about the man, the hunter, the house of man's addictions, or the serpent, the guy that wrote the book, The Serpent Power. I would notice when I go to certain places that, and this is places where consumers, like stores, certain stores, I always would get disoriented. I always would forget the reason I came in the store. I always would I would feel confused. And then I would end up not even getting the thing I went in there for, but other things. So I started testing this theory, and I would tell my husband all the time, every time I go in that store, I get confused. And so then when, you know, the more I awaken and the more you start looking at different organizations and the foundations of those organizations and who's behind those organizations, it makes sense that they would have certain frequencies in place that is when you cross the threshold that you get disoriented. You might start looking for something in that store that you didn't even come in there for, you know, and that's for a lot of places. So just being mindful of that, and also rewatching Spellbreaker and knowing that the time is up for certain energies. And so they're pushing the frequencies more and more so that it says even you know, you have to establish yourself as, it says, even the very elect. So even the strong can be taken down by certain forces. So we have to almost make ourselves impenetrable. And but the only way you do that is having awareness of self and setting markers. I set markers in myself. When I go into places, I will set a marker. I give myself maybe a time frame, or I give myself something to focus on. I even started wearing my headphones, playing certain tunes when I go into certain places and certain environments, so that it keeps my fortress strong, so that I stay with pinpoint accuracy as to why I'm there, if that makes sense. So it's happening all around us, but we have so many tools at our disposal that we can, before we even go into the parking lot, we can get ourselves ready. I get myself ready when I go in certain places, even before I go into the parking lot. From setting the parking space I want to park in, I set that in motion. I set, I just, I put myself almost in that tourist filled bubble, and it works and it's tested, you know. So I think that's what I got. I think I'm done.
Yo, that's funny. I went on a mini vacation, right? And the store that I normally go to, you know, I know where everything is at, right? And so I come back. It was probably about, I was gone for maybe about 10 days, less than 2 weeks. I go to the store and they changed up everything in the store, right? So I'm like, hold up, man. The bread is over there now. Like, so I was all the way off. But yo, that's wild how like you brought that into to center. But check it out, right? This is what adept training is. This is what sovereignty mentorship is about, providing these tools that allow us to put them into action, right? And it's like a workout, you know what I'm saying? Like you're actually working these muscles out and you're starting to build these things up. And now we're walking around fully built. We ready for, you know, we're ready for everything. So giving thanks for this space, for Tribe, because this is what we do here. You know what I'm saying? So giving thanks. What's up, Des? I see you, my brother. Wholeness. Tap in.
Homeless. It's funny because Renee, I was going to Auntie, I was going to respond to the boundaries aspect, but then as soon as you mentioned, getting yourself ready and stuff, especially before the parking lot, and like charging up when you're navigating a space. So I think I mentioned this a while back on a gathering, but there was a moment where I was going into the mall, and when I was in New York, and it was like I was going there. I found myself going there over and over. But then one time I'm sitting in the car, I'm like, you know what? Why? Like, I know what I'm going in there for, but something, like, I just felt like something's low. I was like, yo, what is this? And so I just started singing. I'm just like, I'm alive. And I'm singing, I'm patting my chest. I'm like, I'm alive. I felt so charged up and so like on point that once I got out the car and went directly to where I needed to go, I'm like laser focused. Nothing is distracting me. And I'm just like, boom, hitting that. And I think that connects even to the boundaries too, because and also connecting to expecting a lot from ourselves, which I definitely, value that lesson, because it's like, okay, I expected a lot from myself to have such a large field where I'm able to protect my peace. Because when it comes to boundaries, essentially what we are protecting is our peace, and our stillness, and so it was like, yo, all right, I got this piece protected. I can navigate this space. And so when it comes to boundaries, it's like my precedence and just my energetics. It creates that film or that boundary before I have to even say anything. Now, of course, this is with public, but then when dealing or engaging with family who they're already under the armor, they're in the DNA, they boundaries almost don't even exist with them. I did learn that the boundaries aspect, yes, it was again to protect my peace, but I realized, like you said, Renee, like I had to focus more on, well, what is it that I'm looking for in this situation? What is it that has me feeling out of balance within this situation? And I noticed how it's like for myself, it's like a calmness and a stillness that I feel like creates a boundary where I let people say what they say and do what they do. And I'm just looking at them. Like I like, when the mom would give you that look like stop it. I would just kind of give that look like I see you, so we see what you're doing here, right? And it's like it kind of shatters a little bit of the spirit that's engaging with them, trying to influence my own boundaries, not necessarily them specifically. And I found, okay, it's a lot better for me to not get so mad at the person and more like, all right, well, you see what I'm seeing, right? Because we both know you could be on point. So it's like, what are we doing here? And I found that for myself, silence, not necessarily cutting off and on some which I used to do a lot. Like I would just cut off and I would just like, nah, we're not even gonna engage. But I'm still coming back around. I haven't dealt with that within myself. And so just having the opportunity to be silent, and I'm gonna finish here, be silent with the person and let them sort of express what it is that they need to get off their chest so that we can get to what the issue really is. A lot of times it's just like the 4 agreements, like not taking things personally. A lot of times it is their boundaries that was actually broken from something that has nothing to do with me, or maybe I said something to trigger it. And so it's almost like being able to start to put myself in a position where, again, yeah, I do expect more from myself to actually assist the other person versus feeling like I really have, like I need to defend something, right? Like my peace is something that only I can cultivate. So no one else can actually take that. So it's just whether or not I'm putting the efforts into amplifying that versus necessarily putting, and then letting the amplification be the gate, you know what I mean? So anyways, I just wanted to say that, definitely giving so much thanks to the tribe for the opportunity to speak and share. I trust it was valuable, and yeah, let's keep it going, family. Wholeness.
Yo, so much wisdom in this tribe, fam. Giving thanks for this space again, no doubt, right? What's up, Terrence? What you got for us, brother?
Wholeness, everyone. Can you all see me?
Nah, but we see a dope visual.
Okay, something's up with my camera, but there's a lot that I resonate with in this conversation. So a couple things that I would say, and then there's something that I wanted to share with Tribe that I feel is right on point with where we are right now. So for me, part of learning how to draw the boundaries was really deciding, okay, what am I willing to accept from people, and what have I been accepting from people? So all of last year, I had this thing where it was like
I need to know what am I agreeing to and why am I agreeing to it? Because even with family or things like that, it's always the people that are close to you that really can do damage to you if you allow it. Because you care about them, you extend your heart to them, things like that. And so for me, that was my whole process. And another thing that's really helped me is getting into that creative space because I'm a two. I feel a lot, and it's not always easy to express myself, but I've been a writer for my whole life, and so I find that when I'm writing, sometimes you have that voice that just gets clear, and when you go back and you look at it, it's like, wow, okay, everything is right there. So I've been really in Dream Heaven Engine heavy. Like I've been pinging Seven almost every day about stuff up in Dream Engine. So and I would say, for me, music is a big help, and I would encourage everyone else to use it as such. But I would like to share a song. It's about 3 minutes that I created, if that's okay.
That's what we're
Let's
here
go.
for.
Let's
Okay.
do it. This brother right here been getting it in for real. He has been tapping in with the support team. Like, yo, what's up? Let's go, baby. Let's hear it.
I need to figure out how
I
to
think you
share
have
my
to.
sound.
I think the
Hold
easiest
on.
way is that you do a share screen and then you select share the sound from my computer.
Okay.
Did you give him co-host?
Hold on one sec.
Yeah, he's good.
Nice. What's up, tribe? Feeling good. This vibration is so right.
Yo, also real quick, I'm gonna let y'all know on a little something. The talent showcase team is putting together something special, and I think we got a solid date. It looks like it's gonna be somewhere around mid-February. We're gonna drop the announcement shortly, so stay tuned for that.
We should also announce we're gonna broadcast that live to everybody. So
Oh man, what a treat! Y'all in for
Oh,
something special.
okay, so I'm gonna just share my Dream Engine so you all can see like how many songs, and this is just songs. This is not even images or things like that I've been doing. So I've really been getting my therapy in here. But I'm a find this song and I'm gonna play it for you all. But there's something about it, and I really give thanks to the space, and specifically Seven, Jeanette, and Sean, and even Kenji, because I looked at her album and it just inspired me to want to share with what I'm doing. Just give me a second.
Terrence is definitely a dream engineer. He's
Look at
harnessed the
him.
machine completely, like is generating. And I did hear something that he had put out already, and I was like, and I need to get back in there. It was that inspiring.
Yo, these are all songs right here, y'all. So
I gotta find the song. There's a lot of them, but I know where it is. I know what it looks like.
In the meantime, I would love to also give thanks just for everything. I even wanted to take a moment, and this probably is the perfect time while he's queuing this up for us all to just take some breaths. Just be with
Yeah.
yourself in this moment and realize that you have your brothers and you have your sisters around you, that the shield will hold. And it's so imperative you realize exactly how fortunate and how gifted you are with what your great mother gave you. This is everything right now, clearly. I mean, that the age that we're in is the age of awakening, not because people are just throwing lightning from their hands and floating and flying, but because you now know exactly who everybody is. Nobody is really hiding anymore. They're showing you exactly who they are. And you have to, just like with any dream, project what are you dreaming about? What is your next world going to look like? and then bring that to here right now. So Terrence, you good?
I found it.
All right, great. Let's go.
Okay.
Clear it. Stay mindful. Stay flexible in your consciousness. We fight so much, we fight ourselves, doing damage to the heart, seeking answers to our prayers, but we won't release control. Not good enough, not strong enough. These lies weaken your spirit, listening to everyone else, when the only voice that knows you is within. Who knows you better than you? The solution's already inside. If communication's distorted, your whole life gets distorted too. Look inside, look inside. The darkness gives you strength. Look inside. Look inside, look inside. This is where your power lives. Look inside. We are everything, the light, the shadow. Gotta understand the dark parts too. When something hits you and it cuts deep, ask yourself why it's affecting you. Why these words cause you to feel this way? Why this disappointment crush your chest? It's attachment, it's lack of insight. Time to bring it back to self inside. Yeah. Look inside. Yeah. Darkness gives you strength. Look inside. Look inside. Look inside. Look inside. Yeah. Look inside. This is where your power lives. Look inside. Yeah. Part of you wants to rise. Part of you wants to keep you small. You decide which one survives. This is your power, this is your armor. Decide in advance how it hits you, or decide it won't hit you at all. The need to have it your way is the very thing that blocks the way. We're limited to what we know, but better things exist if you stay open. Best time is now. Even if it's the middle of the night, move from unchanging to change. Change your thoughts, change your actions, change your consumption, change your beliefs, change your friends, change your life. Look inside. This is where your power lives. Look inside. This is where your power lives.
Wholeness
Yo,
tribe.
yo, give it up.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm gonna come off mute for that one.
Yo, stop.
Phenomenal.
Love,
Man,
I
listen.
need that ASAP.
Listen.
Bro, that was fire.
Thank you.
Fire,
Thank you.
fire.
Yo, man, you
Wow.
did it. You did it, fam.
That's this tribe. That's the power of this space. So thank you all.
Wow.
Wow,
That definitely answered my question.
that's a perfect.
That's one of like 60.
Listen. You know, Rimari, I'm definitely gonna catch you on the flip side, but I feel like that we should go into the rest of our reality and day carrying this vibe. I want to take a moment just for a moment of connection, you know, like to stand in the gap, as they would say, for each other. And we'll do that by just taking a few breaths, you know, like just bringing it all here. Like we always love the activity, but can we sit for a moment and let's just take 1 minute and center in. Take some breaths and appreciate each other, appreciate this lifetime. It's been so incredible, and things just begin because there's no ending to this. See you forever. Wherever you are, I'll find you. These are the words that we hold so close here in Tribe, and we do that with our experience every single day, the ups and the downs. There's so much that this experience is teaching us. And the great part is we're here together. So thanks for the space. Thanks, ancestors. Thanks, everything that had something to do with all of this. It's been truly, truly fantastic. This existence has blown me away. And again, to know that we're just experiencing a fraction of it just lets me know just how much more joy is ahead of all of us. So let's take a couple breaths, Tribe. Get some deep breaths. The air is still free. That's the greatness.
And so it is.
Wholeness. Yes, this will be a great time for that beautiful crescendo of wholeness. Wholeness Tribe, giving thanks.
Wholeness, family.
Wholeness Tribe.
Wholeness, tribe. Love everyone.
Wholeness.
Wholeness.
See you at the
All right.
gathering.
Let's go, baby.